When you're tagged by zomgitscriss, it's not easy to say no. In her tagging video, she had 5 questions that she asked me and others to address. Firstly, were you raised atheist, or did you have a religious upbringing of some sort? And there were sub-questions to that. 1a, if raised religious, why and when did you become an atheist? What was this transition from religion like for you, for your family, etc.? Was this a quick transition or a slow one? Was it easy for you or difficult? There's also a further sub-question, but I don't need to deal with that. The answers to these questions were actually in my video, My Last Prayer. So I'm going to be brief here. 1. Yes, I was mildly indoctrinated into Christianity. 1a, I stopped believing at around the age of 9. For me, it was an easy transition, and I think that I describe it in the video, My Last Prayer, as if God drifted away like flotsam on an ebb tide. Her second question was, overall, would you say that other people's belief in God is a good thing, a bad thing, or something you're indifferent about, and why? I'm going to answer this question when I answer question 5, because I think they're interrelated and connected. Question 3 was, have you ever been treated differently by people because you're an atheist? If so, please describe this in detail. I have to say that I've got no idea, nor any reason to think that I have. And the reason I think this is the case is because in this country, religion is very much a background noise. It doesn't really feature in everyday life. So no, I can't say that I have been. Certainly not aware of it. Question 4. If not a religious person, do you consider yourself to be a spiritual person? Why or why not? Well, I don't think I can answer this because I have no idea what is meant by spiritual or spirituality. If spiritual is intended to be equated to emotional, then I am without doubt spiritual. I'm incredibly emotional. I get moved by all sorts of things, whether it be poetry or standing on a seashore, listening to the waves and smelling the sea. I'm also passionate and moved by music, whether that be Tchaikovsky or Freddie Mercury. I'm moved by sport and art, but I don't see that as being spiritual. If spiritual is intended to mean or imply something other than normal human emotions, if, for example, it's supposed to imply some supernatural element or entity or dimension, then no, I am definitely not spiritual. So let's deal with questions 2 and 5, as I think, as I said before, these are best answered together. Question 2 I won't read out again. Question 5, for many people, belief in God provides hope or comfort with respect to suffering in the world and to the inevitability of death. As an atheist, how do you come to terms with these things? I think the best way of answering these questions is by addressing the issues that I have with religion. And the first obvious one, I think, is that I see no evidence for it to be true. And if you have any concern for the truth, I think that by necessity you must also have some concern about religion. Secondly, I consider religion to have historically been an obstacle to any advancement, whether that advancement be in science, education, civil rights, justice, and so on. This may happen to a lesser degree these days, but I do not see anything that any religion has done or is doing to assist understanding or advancements in education, civil rights, or justice. Next, I think that a lot of the religious people sacrifice their critical thinking for the sake of what they have been told, or more accurately, have been indoctrinated with. And that leads me on to this. I consider that religious teachings can be considered to be a form of child abuse. Not necessarily in all cases, but look at this child. How old do you think he is? Why is he holding that banner? The answer is obvious. It's because of his parents. What hope does this child have? for growing up without feelings of utter discrimination and bigotry and self-righteousness. The lack of tolerance with which this child is likely to harbour as he develops into an adult is down to his parents, and is also one of the most serious problems that I think that humanity has to face today. And whilst on the point of discrimination and intolerance, I'm reminded of the late Christopher Hitchens' point, often made.
Then name me an action, a moral action, taken by a believer, or a moral statement uttered by one, that could not have been made or uttered by an infidel, an unbeliever. I have tried this everywhere. On a large number of people, I've not yet had even one reply. But if I was to ask you, can you think of a wicked action that could only have been performed by someone who believed they were on an errand from God, there isn't one of you who would take 10 seconds to think of an example. And what does that tell us?
I'm also deeply irritated that the religious claim dominion over morality. These are the people who will tell you gay marriage is wrong, abortion is wrong, equality of women's rights is wrong, condoms are wrong, and all of this on their spastic interpretations of old texts. And this leads me on to my final point. It may seem off topic at first, but bear with me. Consider this. It's a little over 100 years ago that the Wright brothers took to the air. It was a little more than 60 years later that man landed on the moon. What extraordinary progress science and technology has made. Think also of this. As I'm making this video, curiosity is roaming over the surface of Mars. Think of that for a moment. In a little over 100 years, we have gone from man's first flight to visiting a planet millions of miles away. Isn't that extraordinary? Does that not excite you? And what has religion done in this time? I challenge you, seriously, tell me, what has religion done in the last 100 years? And this is a point I'm getting to. In my view, religion has done nothing, and will continue to do nothing. Let me give you an example. One person I suspect most people watching this video will be familiar with. Venom Fang X. What is he doing to contribute to society? Whilst curiosity is discovering a new planet and is a wonderful endorsement of the scientific advancements that can be made, what's he doing with his life? This is what I'm getting at. Those over the last 100 years who have dedicated their life to a religion, whether they be monks, nuns, whatever, what have they done? And what is Venom Fang X doing now? Whilst curiosity is discovering wonderful things about a new planet, Venom Fang X is littering the streets of New York with flyers and misinformation and nonsense. Name one thing productive that he's ever going to come up with in his entire life. And what can be said about him can be said about religion as a whole. Again, I challenge you. What has religion ever done for us?